Hello, I'm Erik Weaver, Lead Instructor, C1 Truck Driver Training, Stratford, Missouri. I'm here to lead you in a demonstration of the Missouri Class A CDL Pretrip vehicle inspection utilizing the Modernization Standard. The instructions read to you by your examiner will end by asking, do you have any questions? To which you should answer yes. May I begin at the front of the vehicle? They should answer yes. So begin your general approach. Look beneath the vehicle for any leaks. Make certain the entire vehicle is sitting level, it's not leaning to the left or to the right. I'll then check the reflectors at each front corner. These reflectors should be the proper color, clean, not cracked, not missing. I'll then check all the lenses. Fog light, headlight, mirror, 5 marker lights across the top, mirror, headlight, fog light. All these lenses should be the proper color, clean, not cracked, not missing. I'll then open the hood and begin the engine inspection on the passenger side of the vehicle. On the left side of the engine, we're going to inspect all of our hoses, both air and liquid. We're making sure that there's no leaks. We don't hear any air leaks. We're going to check the side of the engine for leaks. We're going to check the bottom of the engine and then transmission for leaks and make sure there's no leaks on the ground. I'm then going to check all these hoses and their connections to make sure that they are all properly mounted secure, not cracked, broken, or missing. I want to make sure that the rubber hoses have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The metal pipes have no cracks or breaks, and none of these have any holes worn in them. This engine has the coolant reservoir on this side of the engine, so I will also check that to make sure that its level is between the add and the full. When we approach the driver's side of the engine, the first thing I'm going to do is tell them that I'm going to inspect all the hoses and leaks over here exactly like I did on the other side of the engine. Then I'm going to pick up my scan. First thing I come to is my power steering reservoir. The power steering reservoir and the dipstick should both be filled between the add and the full. I also need to inspect the hoses for the power steering. Make sure that they are all properly mounted secure, not cracked, broken, or leaking. The rubber hoses have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The metal hoses aren't cracked or broken. And I'll check all the connections to make sure that the hose clamps or the fittings aren't cracked, broken, missing, or leaking. I will then come down and begin my frame. I'll now begin the inspection of the frame and its cross members, as far as I can see in both directions. Make sure it's properly mounted secure, not miss any nuts or bolts, it's not cracked or broken, there's no cracked welds, there's no holes in it. I'll check my spring mount on the front, spring hanger in the rear, which you can also call spring mount if you want to, as well as the spring itself, to make sure it's properly mounted secure. These aren't cracked, broken, or missing, and I need to make sure that the spring itself is in proper alignment, it's not shifted or scissored. I'll check the shock absorber, make sure it's properly mounted secure, not miss any nuts or bolts, it's not cracked, broken, or leaking. I'll then check the power steering gearbox, make sure it's properly mounted secure, it's not missing any nuts or bolts, it's not cracked, broken, or leaking. I'll then inspect the steering linkage, which you can also call the connecting arms, as well as the sockets and joints that connect them. This is the pitman arm, drag link, upper steering knuckle, tied rods down here. On the other side is the lower steering knuckle. These are all properly mounted secure. They're not missing any nuts or bolts. They're not cracked, broken, loose, or worn. Now I'm going to check the castle nuts to make sure that they're not cracked, broken, or missing, and the cotter pins are in place. Also need to inspect the brake hose and its connections on each end. Make sure that it is properly mounted secure, not cracked, broken, or missing. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts or holes worn in the hose. There are no air leaks, and it is properly supplying air. I'll then check the brake lining and the brake drum. I need to make sure that there's no contaminant such as grease or oil. I'll now inspect the tire. I'm going to use a tire tread depth gauge and make sure that the minimum thickness is 4/32 of an inch. Every other tire is 2/32 of an inch as a minimum. I'm going to check all this tread, make sure it's evenly worn. None of the tread is loose, separating, or missing. I don't see any exposed plies or wires shown through here. I'm going to check all sides of my tire to make sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, or air leaks. On the side of the tire is printed the manufacturer's proper inflation. I'll check that with an air pressure gauge at the valve stem. Make sure we're properly supplied to the manufacturer specs. The valve stem should be properly mounted secure, not cracked or broken, no air leaks, caps securely in place, and there is easy access to the valve stem. The rim is properly mounted secure. It's not cracked or broken. There's no repair welds. There's no elongated holes. There's no breaks between the holes. I'll check the studs and the lug nuts, make sure they're all properly mounted secure, not cracked, broken, or missing. And I'm going to look for evidence of looseness or cross-threading, such as rust streaks or silver threads. The in-vehicle inspection begins by getting in the vehicle. The wheels are chalked. I'll now turn the key to the on position. Look for my ABS light and my DPF light. They should both turn on and then turn off. They did, so they're working properly. I'll now do a safe start. This is an automatic truck. All I have to do is to put it in neutral. The green light shows it's in neutral. The end shows it's in neutral. So I'll do my safe start. Valves are out. Now I don't hear any buzzing, so I'm going to press both my air valves in. I'll now bring my RPMs up, build my air up until I hear my air governor pop between 120 and 140 psi, and I roll my window down a little bit, make it a little bit easier to hear that. That was my air governor, and both gauges are between 120 and 140 psi. So now I will set up the air brake test, double checking if these are pressed in, tracker's in neutral. Turn the engine off, take the key out of the ignition, let the engine stop, put it back in, look for my ABS light and my DPF light, let the dashboard diagnostics complete. Hold buzz pop. I'll do the hold test first. I'm going to push my brake all the way down to the floor, and I'm going to wait for the needles to stop falling. Then I'll ask the examiner to start my time, and I'll hold the brakes for 60 seconds. As long as we do not lose more than 4 psi, it passes that test. So I'm pressing the brakes all the way down, nice and firm. I'm watching the needles fall. Okay, they stabilize. Please start my time. We'll now wait 1 minute. As long as we don't lose more than 4 psi, it passes. Okay, that was my 60-second hold, and we did not lose any air, so we are good to go. That passed. I'll now continue my air brake test, hold, buzz, pop. I'm going to continue to press and release the brakes until the buzzer and light come on, and they should come on at or above 55 psi. Nice firm presses. This is automatic. I pause when it reaches 75 psi. Because the needles keep falling. That's my buzzer and light. I can see that they have signaled. So it passed that test. I'll continue to press and release the brakes. I want to see the red and the yellow valve both pop out between 20 and 45 psi. Firm presses, and I'll stare at the yellow valve while I do it. Both valves did pop out between 20 and 45 psi, so we have passed all 3 air brake tests, as well as the governor limiting out properly. I'll now do a safe start. I'll raise my RPMs to build up the air and make that buzzing stop. Alright, I'll continue my in-vehicle inspection. I'm going to check all 6 mirrors, make sure they are clean and properly adjusted to me. I'll check my glass on all 3 sides, make sure it's clean, not cracked or broken, there's no obstructions to my view. I'll check my windshield wipers, make sure that they're going back and forth, full contact with the glass, the arms and the blades aren't cracked, broken, or missing. Then I will check the fluid, see if it's covering the viewing area. This one's not, so I have to inspect that to find out why and get that repaired. I'll now do my dashboard indicators. Left turn signal indicator, right turn signal indicator, 4-way indicators, high beam indicators are all working properly. I will check my city horn and my air horn. Those are working properly. I'll then come to my heater and defroster. I'm on full fan. Doesn't matter whether you're on hot or cold, we're just checking airflow. But I do need to have the selector in the proper place. I want to make sure that this is the position that shows the floor heat and the defroster, so I can check both high and low. It is blowing properly. You can check them independently if you want to, but you have to check the proper selector position with your hand position. I'll then check the fuse box, make sure it has spare fuses. Behind us in the side box we have 3 red reflective triangles. Underneath my seat I have a fire extinguisher that's securely mounted and fully charged. All that remains is to do my tug-tug pull, so I need to step out and remove my wheel shock, so just take a moment. That was my air governor popping again between 120 and 140. Alright, I just removed the wheel chocks. At the test site, in all likelihood, you're parked right in front of the building. You're going to have to back up a truck length before you start this test. I've already done that. So I will go ahead now and do my tug-tug pull. I'm pushing in the trailer brake, pulling out the tractor brake, so I'm checking the parking brake of the tractor. Truck in drive, make sure I see the 3. Just want to give a squeeze on the fuel pedal. I'm not trying to drag this anywhere, I just want to feel the torque build up. You can see it and feel it. That's all I need. Tractor brake's working just fine. I'll pull out the trailer brake, push in the parking brake, make sure I'm still in 3rd gear, which I am. Still in drive, same thing. Just want to squeeze the fuel gently until I feel the torque build up. That's all I need. I'm going to release both brakes now. We're still in 3rd gear. I'm going to pull forward 5 miles an hour and apply the brakes. I want to stop smoothly and make sure this wheel does not turn left or right. We did stop and the wheel did not turn left or right. Truck back in neutral, set my brakes. That concludes the in-vehicle inspection. We'll now resume our exterior inspection at the door mirror. I'm going to inspect the mirror and its bracket, make sure it's properly mounted secured. It's not missing any nuts or bolts. It's not cracked or broken or missing any other pieces. I'm going to make sure the glass itself is clean, not cracked or broken. I'll be checking this lens exactly like I did the other lenses. I'll check my fuel tank and my fuel lines to make sure they're properly mounted secure, not cracked or broken. I'll make sure this cap's on secure. I have no leaks. And there's no leaks collecting on the bottom or the bottom of the engine. This is my battery box. I'm going to inspect the cover, the batteries themselves, the connecting cables, make sure they're all properly mounted secure, not cracked, broken, or missing, or otherwise damaged. And I'm going to also make sure that the terminal connections themselves are nice and tight with no excessive corrosion. I'll now conduct the inspection of the coupling. I'm going to begin with the electrical and air lines, check the connections both at the trailer and at the tractor. Make sure that they're seated and sealed and locked in place. I'm checking that the tab on the electrical line is in place on both the tractor and the trailer. Make sure the glad hands are locked in place, the seal's not cracked, there's no audible air leaks. The brass fittings on the tractor end are not cracked or broken, no audible air leaks. I'm going to check all 3 of these lines to make sure they're not tangled, not getting caught in the framework or other parts of the truck. I'm going to check all 3 of these lines, make sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. There's no exposed or frayed wires in the electrical line. The air lines have no audible air leaks, and none of these lines are chafed, torn, or have any repairs such as splices or tape wrapped around them. The tractor frame and cross members, I'll inspect those to make sure they're properly mounted secure, not missing any nuts, bolts, not cracked or broken. There's no broken welds, there's no holes in them. I'll then inspect the trailer apron to make sure that the weld across the front is not cracked or broken, it's not missing any nuts, bolts, rivets down the side, and the apron itself is not cracked or broken. I'll now continue the coupling inspection. I'm checking the gap between the trailer apron and the skid plate. Make sure there is no gap, it's properly greased, and the trailer is sitting level on the skid plate. The apron's not cracked or broken. The skid plate is properly attached to the frame of the tractor by the platform. The skid plate itself is not cracked or broken, missing any nuts or bolts, pins or cotter pins. And I need to check the slide rail locking pin to make sure it's not missing any nuts or bolts, it's not cracked, broken, or damaged, and it is in fact locked out. I'll then check the release handle to make sure it's all the way in and appears to be in the locked position. I'll now inspect the kingpin and the locking jaws. Look right up into the V of the skid plate. I'm making sure the kingpin is in place, it's not cracked or broken. I know that it's not excessively loose because I've already done the tug test. And I'm checking the locking jaws to make sure they're completely locked around the shank of the kingpin. I'll now begin the trailer inspection. I'm going to check this reflector and the lenses on the top corner of the trailer, front and side. The same way I inspected all the other lenses and reflectors. Reflectors are inspected the same way as lenses. Proper color, clean, not cracked, broken, or missing. I'm going to continue to check my red and white DOT tape. Make sure that it's present, it's not missing. I'm going to check that the full length of the trailer. Make sure I identify each piece. I'll then inspect my landing gear. I'm going to begin with the space between the landing gear to make sure there's enough space here that when I turn, no part of this tractor is going to hit the landing gear. The inspection of the landing gear itself, its frame and its cross members and its feet and its arm, make sure they're all properly mounted secure, they're not missing any nuts or bolts, not cracked or broken, no cracked welds. I'll make sure the foot's all the way up with no debris in it, and the handle has been properly secured. As we continue down the side of the trailer, we continue to check the red and white DOT tape, continue to look for lenses and reflectors. We'll inspect the entire length of the trailer frame and its cross members, exactly like we did the tractor, and we'll inspect the floor and make sure that it's not cracked or broken, there's no holes in it. Continuing to come down, we're checking the red and white DOT tape. Here we have a light and reflector, we're checking all these like we did the other ones. Remember to check up top, see if there's a lens up there. We continue to check the lenses and reflectors as we go along. Make sure you identify every one. Coming to the sliding tandem slide rail and frame, I'm going to make sure that I check this slide rail and frame exactly like I did the tractor and trailer frame. I want to make sure the handle is in the locked in position and all the pins are in the locked out position. Continuing to check for lights, lenses, and reflectors, all of which are checked exactly like they were previously. At the rear of the vehicle, we're now going to continue to check red and white DOT tape, all of our lenses, check all those and inspect them exactly like we did before, and also look at the top two corners of your door. You should have reflective white tape up there, inspected like the other reflective tape. Continuing down the passenger side vehicle, we're going to check all of our lenses, reflectors, and reflective tape exactly like we have the previous ones. Remember to look up tall. You have to identify every single one of these. We're checking all these exactly like we did the other ones. Reflective tape, reflectors, lenses. Remember to look up tall. Reflective tape. Checking all these like we did the other ones. Reflective tape, reflector, lens on the front of the trailer and the side of the trailer both. And then checking down the side of the tractor, looking for lenses and reflectors. Check this lens like we did the other ones, and the turn signal reflector on both sides as we did all the other ones. This completes our inspection.